And we're talking the wonderful things you can drink to get you on the path of a great lifestyle. So we're going to head over to the Wood Harbor Kitchen with Sheree Clark and Jason Parkin.
So very briefly, I was on your raw food diet, lost 14 pounds, and honestly felt awesome. Last weekend, as you know, I took a break for a few days, felt horrible, and I'm serious. I'm not just saying that because she's here. Tired, sore, didn't sleep well. So now we started a new chapter, which we had planned ahead of time, where I'm just doing juices and smoothies, and so far so good. Down 3 pounds in 4 days.
Right.
So,
yeah. And to your point about eating, things that you're not used to eating, I'm never going to tell you not to transgress, because I know for Thanksgiving, I've already said I'm going to be doing some things I don't normally do, but remembering what the cost is and what the price that you pay is at the end of the day. So you're doing some juices and smoothies, and you're going to be doing that for a certain period of time. And my recommendation to you is have an idea in mind. Maybe it's 10 days, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's whatever. But when your body tells you, this isn't working for me anymore, honor that and listen to that, and it's time to bail. So the juices
Can you bring that chocolate over here? Oh, no, I've been fine.
Wait till after the segment to bail, please.
Okay.
So you've been doing juices and you pretty much got that down, but the smoothies part of it is the part where it's so easy, but I find that sometimes people struggle with it. And the big struggle tends to be that, one, they get in a rut. They just they'll have the strawberry banana thing, and then they're like, I'm tired of this, I'm going to bail. And two, they feel like it's nice, but it's liquid, and I don't have satiety.
Right.
And since you're pretty much going with a liquid type diet, what I'm going to do is suggest some things that you can add to your smoothies. There's a whole plethora of flavor types of things that you can do, which are all great. But let's talk about what you put in it that you might not have thought about.
Okay.
Okay?
That sounds good.
The first thing that is, we've got oats. So
I would think about that because you think about oatmeal.
Right.
You don't think about throwing it in a smoothie.
It's wonderful. And one of the things that you would do to make it work would be to put it in with just water or whatever the liquid you're going to use. You could put it in with coconut water, would be nice and give it a little bit of sweetness. You could put it in with some juice. Apple cider this time of year would be great. Blend. So you blend it all up so that it almost becomes its own milk. And then you start adding the other ingredients. The other thing about that is we're stuck in the rut of thinking that a smoothie is cold and icy and made with frozen bananas. It doesn't have to be. If you put in hot apple cider into this, slurried it up in your blender, then added your other ingredients, drank that through a straw, it's still a smoothie, but it's warm.
Oh, interesting.
So it's giving you some satiety, some warmth, some of that crappy weather that the weather guy tells us about.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Exactly.
Too early for it.
So there's an option for you. The other thing for density could be something like a canned product. You could use a butternut squash, which is what I've got here. You could put a pumpkin. I wouldn't use pumpkin pie filling because it's got additives and it has extra sugar, but I would consider using like the canned pumpkin. They have canned sweet potato. That's another thing that can become a base for a smoothie. Throw it in there, some density, stick to your ribsness, makes you feel good.
Right.
And whatever seasonings you would put into those things, you'd go ahead and throw right into the blender.
I never would have thought of any of those.
Well, that's why you have me.
That's right.
The other reason we get a little bit hungry is protein, and everybody thinks, right, you're not going to throw a steak into the blender, please. Yeah. But you could put in something like bee pollen. And bee pollen would be an example of a protein source that would give you a little bit more satiety. It also adds a little bit of sweetness.
It makes the bees mad when you steal it, but...
Well, we're...
Okay.
And it makes the vegans, true vegans, mad at me because they say, well, you're not vegan.
It's an animal product.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes.
going a little off the edge for me.
The other thing about satiety would be a fat source. We talked last week about adding nut butters into the smoothies. This would be a good thing. And the reason I like these is it lets you kind of regulate what a serving is. You're going to defeat the purpose if you put a half a jar of peanut butter into your smoothie.
Right.
But if you put in a little scotch to give it a little bit of fat. Another fat source could be coconut oil out of the jar. You don't even have to soften it. It will soften in the process of the blending.
Oh.
Avocado would be another whole food source.
These great ideas.
Thai coconut, you can open this up, dump the water in, scrape the meat out. Now you've got liquid that's sweet and some fat, all good stuff.
Is it cheaper to do this than this?
It is cheaper to do that than that.
Okay.
Yeah, and typically in an Asian market, these will run you sometimes even under $2.
Wow.
Yeah, and in a health food store, it's going to be like $5 or whatnot. And where the retail on this is obviously it varies by where you're buying it and how much of it you're buying. But the other thing, if you're going to buy it packaged, read the label. You're
Right.
going to want to get the kind that's made not from concentrate, but that's fresh.
Okay.
In the refrigerator section is the best part. Make sure there's no additives and what have you. I've got a couple other things that we can talk about in terms of ramping up flavors and whatnot. One is adding an entire sweet potato. Just chunk it up. I would peel it.
Okay.
Because it's got some dirt on it, and you really and it takes a lot for the blender to process
cut
the
through that.
peels.
Okay.
But that would be another thing to add a little bit of depth. And then finally, I made you a carrot juice here, and we've got, so I made carrot, it's got a little bit of orange, it's got some ginger. If we take that and you taste that, and you'll see that that's a juice. If we wanted to add some of those fat sources,
it's really good.
It's very tasty. If we wanted to add some of those fat sources, for example, like let's imagine blending that with avocado or maybe even one of the purees, and then just add a little bit of a lime zest to the top.
So this is like a zester?
Yep, this is a microplane actually. It's actually most people use it for, oh my. Most people would use this for something like Parmesan cheese, but
Okay.
we're not going to put that in our smoothie either. So then that, and if you want to just taste it,
Sure.
it gives it more of a flavor of a soup. It gives it a little bit more rounded outness.
It does. It's really good.
It's incredible.
And it's totally different.
Yep.
Than this.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm actually going to walk over after the segment and write a bunch of ideas down. Very, very good. Where can people see you and get a hold of you?
Well, the best place for that would be to go to www.fork-road.com. And then and if people wanted to contact me, they can send me an email at info@fork-road.com.
I can't tell you guys how much I've learned from Sheree, and she's become a good friend and obviously helping me out. So I appreciate it.
I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. We've got a lot more coming up.